Okay, let's go ahead and add our fabulous sound file into the scene. Very exciting. Go up here to Game Object, and what you're going to do is you're going to say Create Empty. You're going to create just a blank game object. It shows up here in the hierarchy as Game Object. So you can just go ahead and rename this. Let's call this Thunder, or let's call it maybe Audio Thunder 01. And now we just have a blank object. If I go up here to move, it's invisible because it's an empty game object, so it doesn't have any visual impact on the scene. And if I can move this around in the scene. So at this point it doesn't matter. It's like just moving an invisible thing around. Who cares? But what I can do now is I can go ahead and attach an audio file to this blank game object. So what I'm going to do is get Thunder trimmed over here, and I'm simply going to drag and drop it onto Audio Thunder 01. Once we do that, if I go over here to the hierarchy view and select Audio Thunder 01, you'll notice the inspector now has quite a few things attached to it. Notably this audio clip over here, and we are going to make use of that. Now my sound settings are already opened up. Yours might look like this initially. There are these little triangles, so just go ahead and open up the 3D sound settings, which is what we're going to be interested in. So now we can see we have this little audio icon, which lets us know there's a sound object there. So before we do anything else, let's go ahead and test this, and our walk through the room should start to become a little bit more interesting. So turn it on the game. And here we go. So I don't know if you can hear the sound very well, but it's coming through loud and clear here for me. And so we have sound in our game. So if I go closer to the sound, it gets louder. I'm right on top of it there. And I can hear it very loudly. Again, I don't know if it's really coming through for you. I'm just going to sit here for a little bit longer in this thunderstorm. All right, now it just ended, and the sound just turned off, and that's because I need to set that sound to loop so that it will play back continuously. So in order to do that, I need to make sure that I remember to go up here and turn off the game first. Then go over here, click on my Audio Thunder object out here, and click on the loop box. So now when I go back to play this, that sound will not stop playing. So I just click play, and it resets me back to the beginning, back to the center, and now I need to navigate over, try to get right on top of that sound object there. Oops. All right. So now, as I move away from the sound, we should hear it decrease. And again, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this very well on this recording, but I will go ahead and do that. So as I move away from this, it's actually going down pretty nicely. It's dropping off quite a bit. So I'm now in the other corner, and we're far away from the sound. As I go back across the room, I get closer to the sound, and the sound will get louder. Alright, very nice. So let me go ahead and stop that. And let's go ahead and look at our audio object and do some editing on its envelope, its 3D sound settings. So if I have my audio object selected over here in the inspector, we'll see something over here, this graph that should look a little familiar to you from GarageBand. It's just a basic envelope. And we can zoom in on this by using the scroll wheel, which it's not doing for some reason, or we can just go ahead and make this window bigger, and that'll give us more of a curve to work with here and make it a lot easier. Now, this square floor that we're working on is about 30 units by 30 units. And this is telling us this has a maximum distance of 500. So this sound is going to fall off very, very, very gradually over 500 feet. So it will never completely disappear from the room at this setting. So to fix that, if we want it to disappear, we could go in and either move these edit points manually, or we could go ahead and maybe shorten the distance. Let's go ahead and shorten the distance to, let's say, 50 feet to start off with and see what we get. So you'll notice, let me actually go back to 500 here. There is a bright red line or a dark red line that stands for volume, as it tells us down here at the bottom. And then there's also this faint ghostly red line that's going straight up and down. And that ghostly faint red line represents the proximity of our first-person controller object. So it puts us in there, it tells us actually about how far away that is. And sure enough, here's our scale down here, 50 units, and so it's about, looks to me it's just about 10 feet away. So our controller is about 10 feet away from that controller. So if I set a maximum distance here of 10, this is going to really shorten this up quite a bit. And what I could do is go in here and start to move these edit points down and actually move them all the way down, all the way to 0, so that this sound will actually fall off all the way to 0 by the time it gets 10 feet away. So when I start this up, we should have no more sound out in these farther reaches of the room. It should only be as we get closer to this that we'll have a sound. Let's see if we're right. Maybe we'll get lucky. So we turn on the play button and hope it doesn't crash. And I'm not hearing any sound. That's kind of cool. So let's go ahead and get closer. Oops, it's hard to see here. Oh, and there goes the sound. The sound comes up pretty abruptly. Let me go backwards, and it should go away. And we should have nothing. Yeah, that's great. And you can see over here in our inspector, you can see that faint red line coming across and showing us, it'll show up when our controller enters into the envelope. There it goes. And that's showing us how high we are on the level. So I'm going to go ahead and try to navigate around here to get close to that, try to get right on top of that. And now we can see here how loud that's getting. Oh, just went by it. I'm almost right on top of that. Whoa. So that's very cool. So that's basically how you edit sound in Unity there using these envelopes.